でみんなが敬語で苦労したこととかある？
あるっていつも。
そうそう、今もあります。
毎日やる。
よろしくっていうのが英語で翻訳したら、前もってあなたの親切に感謝しますって言ってるやん。今日は外国人落語家が語る日本語の難しさの動画を見てみるよ。
Let's find out!
こんにちは、全人類と友達になるとこば奥がミスターウキです。そして
アナです。
そうです。
あのです。
今日のテーマは外国人落語家桂三輝さんが語る日本語の難しさの動画を見てみよ
I heard about this guy before. It's like the foreigner doing RAKUGO, right?
う。そう、
あ
桂三輝さんなんですが、カナダのトロント出身で落語家だから日本語を勉強して落語家に入って、で今はニューヨークにいらっしゃって英語で海外のお客さんに対して落語をされてる。
Oh, I didn't know he was doing RAKUGO in New York. That's interesting.
言語のバリアを超えるのめっちゃ大変だったと思うんだけど、そのバリアを超えるときに体験したいろんな出来事について落語を披露する中の、トークの一つのテーマとして話されてるよね。でそれが、日本語あなたたちペラペラじゃないですか。
そんなことないです。
みんなも共感できると思うんで、今日はその動画を見てリアクションしていきたいと思います。
It's interesting because it's like, you know how a lot of chefs come to Japan to train and then bring it back to their home country to open up their own Japanese shop?
Yeah.
Like this guy is a very rare case where someone takes Japanese arts and then they try to bring it back into their own country and create their own version.
すごいよね、そう考
Yeah,
え
it's
たら。
really cool.
今から2つのテーマ見るんだけど、1つは日本語の発音が難しいって話、でもう1つは丁寧さの度合いをつけるのが難しいっていう話、
オーケーオーケー。
その2つをね見ていきたいと思います、
はい、
それでは行ってみましょう。
And usually people have that much of an explanation and then they're ready to go. You know, the Japanese language is also very difficult. You have to be very, very careful when you're speaking Japanese because, you know, one little mistake in Japanese can completely change the meaning of what you want to say. And I was performing in Nagoya, the city of Nagoya, and I left Nagoya station, I got in a taxi, and I got to the theater that I wanted to go to, and I said to the I wanted to say to the taxi driver, 運転手さん、私をここで降ろしてください。Which means, driver, please let me off here.
Yeah,
And I went one little mistake. I said, 運転手さん、私をここで殺してください。
Oh no, don't do that. Don't do that.
怖い外人だって言われるから。
This is so interesting. It's like this, it doesn't really fall too far from what actual like Rakugo is, because like it's done in like a very, very fast pace, like from the costume to the get up to like the visuals, it's like really perfectly done like in English, right? Because it's Rakugo is like a lot of like really, really fast story, really, really fast comedy, and it's very different from what stand-up is, right?
Yeah.
So it really captures the essence of Rakugo.
The pace of it is really.
Yeah.
Also note the maple leaf right here. That's a
Wow, that
カ
must
ナダだ。
Canadian symbol right there.
that must make you feel good.
言い間違えたことある？今みたいな感じで。
ある。
Oh.
美容院へ行ったって言いたかったのに、病院行きましたって言ったりして。
それ難しいね。
It's like, 大丈夫なの？病院とか行ってだって。
トウモロコシ。僕最初言った時はトモコロシとか。
トウモロコロシ。怖い。
トモコロシ美味しいよって。
決体の食べ物。
I was on the phone with the nurse and she's like, 症状は何ですか？症状は女の子。
少女。
I get you.
I had this Japanese friend who went fishing a lot with her parents, and I wanted to ask her if she can, cut a fish. So they'll be like, 魚さばけますか? And instead of that, I asked, 魚しばけますか? Yeah.
Poor fish.
And then there's an important part of Japanese grammar. It's called nobasu. It's lengthening the vowel. This is almost imperceptible to the Anglophone ear. But if you lengthen the vowel, you can really run yourself into trouble. And I'll give you some pairs of words that are troublesome. Tori. Bird. trouble, these get worse. Oba-san, madam, Oba-san, old lady.
True.
Shujin, husband. Shujin, prisoner.
Interesting.
まさにさっき言った病院と病院。
面白いのが、日本語って病院、ホスピタルの方書こうと思ったら、B、小さいよ、う、い、んで伸ばし棒ないけど、呼ぶときは病院ってよく言うもんね。
I wish all of my Japanese lessons were like this. It'd be so much fun. It's like making Japanese learning fun because he's using jokes that he's telling in English and then he's also explaining what they mean. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll always remember. Shujin.
うちの囚人がね。
My prisoner.
My
ある意味
prisoner.
ある意味やってるけどね
何うまいこと言ってる。
Como, supervisor. Como, asshole.
Oh, I see.
そう考えたら日本語ってややこしい。
難しいよ
英語とかってさ、こういうこと起こる？
It's just like there's like do and ikigo, then there's probably going to be like a big difference between what you say.
発音が難しいと思うのは、奥へのファーザーとお父さんのファーザー。
father
I think the one thing that really comes to mind really quickly is like if the spelling is the same, but depending on the situation, the pronunciation changes. So like contract versus contract, right? If you contract a disease, you still use the word contract, right? But if you say I contract a disease, it's like you keyaku wa byoki, like what is that? What is that?
それってスペル一緒だよね。
Yeah, same.
でも、
Right.
どっちにアクセントがあるかで意味が変わるってこと。
Yeah, yeah,
You're right, you're right.
Or like affect and effect.
yeah
So like, I mean, that's more of a reading thing, right? But if you were to write it down, what is the affect of this situation?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not quite
That's
right.
not right.
That's
That's
not
not
right. What's the effect? Right?
Effect.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
effect of this?
So yeah,
How does this affect you?
yeah.
日本語のさ、発音って、まあ、結構多分、そんな難しくない部類に入るでしょ、一般的には。日本語は母音が子音とくっついて使うのを含めて、まあ5個しかないよね。あ、い、う、え、お。でも、英語はなんか、とかなんかもういっぱいあるじゃん。だから多分発音するのは簡単だけど、数が少ないからこそ、音のバラエティがそんなになくって、ちょっと変えたら違う意味になっちゃうのがいっぱいあるのかな。
Right. Like we were talking about in the previous video, right? Like grape,
ぶど
budo. For example, like karate or like judo, for example. It's
あ
like
ぶど
budo.
あ、武道、武道。
Budo is like this, but this is budo.
あ
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
神
yeah, yeah, or
Yeah.
like ame, or like or hashi.
そうか、気にしてなかったけど、
おじさんおじいさん
Yeah.
君たち大変だね。
大変だよ
And like it's also like depends on the cities, right? Like so, for example, in Tokyo, I guess Tokyo is like hyojingo, right? So you say like tree, ki, right? But in Osaka, it's like ki, isn't it?
き
お
広島出身なんでわかんないです。
Anyway, my point is that like depending on the city, the same word can be pronounced differently.
発音
ありがとうじゃなくてありがと
そうね。
とう
ありがとうって関西では、まあ、僕下手なんでね、怒らないでください。標準語は最初高くってどんどん下がっていくよね。ありがとうっていくけど、関西弁とかは、ありがとうってなんかこう、途中で一回高くなってもう一回下がる感じする。
う。
大きにとかね。
ああ、そうね。外国人にとって日本語の発音っていうのはものすごく難しいっていう話でした。
はい。
Yes.
次の動画は、丁寧さのレベルっていう話を見ていこうと思います。
Yoroshiku. I think some of you may have heard this word before. Yoroshiku. It's a very difficult word to translate briefly into English, but Yoroshiku basically means I thank you in advance for your kindness.
Yes.
It's a word when we meet people for the first time, or when we're starting a day of work, or starting some kind of project together, or what I would say at the beginning of a performance to my audience.
よろしくっていうのが英語で翻訳したら、
Thank you in advance for your kindness.
前もってあなたの親切に感謝しますって言ってるやん。
Yes.
そういう英語はないの？
No.
No.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No. Not.
中国語もないよ、そんな。
前もってあなたの優しさに感謝しますって結構優しくしてよって言ってるようにちょっと聞こえちゃう。いや、そういう意味はないけどね、なんか面白いなと思って。
Now the trouble is, yoroshiku on its own is not very polite. It's very, very casual. So you have to make it more polite. Now I'll just give you a little bit of a Japanese lesson here. If you want to make something more polite in Japanese, you have three options. You raise the status level of the other person. Number two, you lower your own status level. Number three, you raise the status level of the other person at the same time as lowering your own status level.
The first one is 尊敬語 the second one is 謙譲語 and the last one is like the two combined like させていただく
尊敬語が相手を上げるんよね。
そう
「を」をつけたりすることでね。で、謙譲語が自分を下げる。
いただきますとか
素晴らしい。
素晴らしい。
で、最後がどっちもつける。
If you say yoroshiku, a little bit more polite, yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Which translates to, I humbly thank you in advance for your kindness. You see, now I'm humble. So I'm being more polite to you. Then the next one will be yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. Which means I humbly thank you in advance for your esteemed kindness. You see, now the kindness that you're going to do to me in advance has become esteemed. So we're broadening the distance between us and I'm being more polite. Then the next one up will be yoroshikuご指導のほどお願い申し上げます。
Jesus.
Which means I hope I am humble enough to accept your esteemed kindness and teaching. So now you see I've raised you all to the little teacher, me down to the little student, thereby widening the gap between us and being more polite to you. I'm not actually expecting to learn anything from you. This is just a way to be polite. And then there's the most polite form of this phrase, which is yoroshikuご指導ご鞭達のほど願わしゅう存じております。Please teach me and hit me with a whip.
Basically, yeah. Jeez. That's true. Have you ever used that in your life?
ご指導ご鞭達のほどよろしくお願いします。1回か2回かな。
Really? Shacho or like what?
例えば新入社員とかよく使うかな。今からすごいお世話になると。で、厳しく自分をこうトレーニングしてくださいと。ご迷惑をおかけしますし、自分のことを育ててもらいたいです。厳しくしてもらっても大丈夫ですってご鞭達って、さっき無知で打つって言ってたけど、そうね。多分誰も無知で打つっていう考えはしてないけど、ご鞭達ってそういう字やもんね。
Do you learn that like online or is just like built into your system from birth?
Taught by a school or something.
別に勉強はしてないんだけど、みんななんか知ってる。
アニメ。
What?
自然に。
自然に言う。
Seriously?
だってアニメで別にそんなご指導ご鞭達
That wasn't in my Japanese textbook at all.
でみんなが敬語で苦労したこととかある？
いやあります
あるっていつも。
そうそう今もあります
毎日やる。
したことあるっていうよりかしています
例えば何が困る？
今の状況ではどっちの敬語の方が正しいかどうかとかだか
こう言った
ら
らおかしいかとか。
For example, should I use お願い申し上げます or お願いいたします like よろしくお願い申し上げます or よろしくお願いいたしますあとよく困るのがおかごがつく言葉が多いじゃんだからこの言葉はおがつく名詞なのかごがつく名詞なのか例えばお指導なのかご指導なのかどっちっていうお検討ご検討
尊敬語もっと丁寧にするときに、おとかごをつけるけど、どっち使っていいか分かんないから、お召し上がりくださいを、ご召し上がりくださいってなっちゃうってこと
なっちゃう。おりこさん、ごりこさん。言わんでしょうね。おりこさん。
はい、ということで今日は桂三社員さんの日本語の難しさについての落語のトークの動画を見てみました。どうだった？
わかる気持ち。
わかるって感じ
Yeah, this is the first RAKUGO I understood.
I really like that he pointed out things that are difficult about Japanese language that are not talked about as much. 例えば日本語を勉強している外国人に日本語のどこが難しいって聞いた時に日本人がよくやっぱ漢字ですよねっていうことが多いんだけど、その漢字以外にはあまり難しいと思われない部分でもちょっと難しさがある。発音とかね、敬語とかね。
It's good that he does topics about Japanese and about Japanese culture because it's like easy for people to like get hooked about the Rakugo art because there's already something Japanese about it. Sure. It's not like a Rakugo style story about police brutality in the States, right? It's not about that. It's about something that is Japanese related, so it kind of makes it easy for the crowd to like understand. It's like a comedy like that doesn't hurt anybody. It's comedy that you laugh together like with the audience. Like, hey, isn't this funny about Japanese culture? It doesn't really put anybody down, right?
Yeah, it's like a shared painful experience kind of thing. Of learning Japanese, like
Exactly.
We've all been there kind of thing, right?
Yeah. It's not a why Japanese people. It's like why Japanese people.
結論としては日本語は難しいと。
Still 勉強中。
他に皆さんがリアクションしてほしい動画があればコメント欄までよろしくお願いします。それでは次の動画でまたお会いしましょう。バイバイ。チャンネル登録
お願いします。